This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to call the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee meeting to order. Can you take roll call, please, Susan?
Shirley Wright Vogt is excused. Adele Schmidt,
Here.
Tracy Flukie,
Here.
Annette Obinger, here. Linda Monson, here. Kyle Jago,
Here.
and Jessica Atkinson is excused.
Thank you. Action on the agenda, if I could have a motion to approve the agenda, if you would want to move anything.
You might want to say the pledge.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Let's do the pledge first. Sorry.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, action on the agenda. One item I'd like to pull, Natalie from Wellow will not be able to make it today. She has a sick son, unfortunately. So we could remove item 9B on the agenda. Any other changes, anything from you? Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move we approve the agenda
Thank you.
as amended.
Second, anybody?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Action on the minutes from April 11th. Does anybody have any corrections or changes? I gave Susie a few before the meeting, and I think Annette gave her one to make a change on. Anybody else have any other corrections? If not, I would ask for a motion to include the changes that Annette and I had given to Susie before. I don't know if that's appropriate to do that, because nobody knows what the changes are. Joel?
Yeah, I would identify what those are, just
Okay.
to have clarity.
Okay, Annette, do you want to, hold the one that you had, or?
Yep, page 5 is Peckerman Trail to Fernando from Fernando to Grant Street, not Grand Street.
In that same area, I had one, it says Arts Land, it should be Arts Lane. That's again on page, what'd you say, 5? Let's see, yeah, page 5. 4. It's page 3 in the minutes of packet, page 5. And that's under the pathways in the Sand Acres development section. Unless there's an Arts Land that I don't know about, Rex. And we got
No.
like the Disneyland Arts Land.
No, I don't think so.
All right. And then there's a clarification, I guess. We talked about this a little bit, but the 4th one down in that same section that says north of Grant on Sand Acres to Packer Land. So what we're thinking is that, Rex, maybe you can clarify this. It's the trail north of Grant, maybe going from Sand Acres to Packer Land. I was confused on Sand Acres. It's, I'm assuming you're talking about the trail north of Grant. I was thinking maybe you're talking about from Sand Acres to Peckerland, but it sounds like it's on Sand Acres. I was confused on that.
I think we were talking about potentially acquiring the Ertz land when, should it sell, and extending the Sand Acres Trail to that, to Grant, and then going up to Peckerland.
I don't know, I'm gonna just do one this one for a few minutes.
Okay. Okay. And then there was one other in page 4. It was under your comments, Rex. The very last paragraph under Park and Rec report. Maybe Joel might be able to answer this too. It talks about future Lombardi access road, which will be extended to the north. Is that just gonna be moved to the north, or is it actually be extended?
The whole road should be moved to the north, there's no extension.
Okay, that's what I
Shift
was
it
thinking.
closer to Lombardi Avenue.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, so maybe that should just be moved to that instead of extended.
Tracy,
Yes,
going back to the changes you made, the paragraph under that, you talked about the gas line trail.
Yep.
That's pretty close to the next municipality over, is it Hobart?
Lawrence.
Lawrence?
Part of that trail's not actually maybe, it's all in Ashwaubenon.
And they're doing a lot of stuff on trails out there. So if we're gonna be looking at changes, I think we need to see what they're doing as well.
That's a good idea.
They're gonna follow what we're doing, but we can work with them on anything.
It just,
Knowing, don't get me wrong, knowing Lawrence, I mean, they don't have a staff as we do, so typically they would follow our lead, you know, kind of like us seeing what they're doing. They are probably looking at what we're doing, and then they would do.
because it's always my thinking that there's that gas line that cuts across from Packland to go to whatever street that is, Fernando or whatever street it is. No, maybe it's whatever Shearing Road turns into. And there's a path along there, along that new subdivision. I see a lot of people on there. So I'm thinking, you know, those paths would all be
Interconnected.
interconnected.
Well, and maybe just noting, or even just that we're working with the adjacent communities on this stuff, so that trails connect across municipal boundaries or something. Just keep that in mind, maybe when you're putting your comments together for, because this had to do with additions to the.
Because I don't think that gas line runs right alongside the road. I think it cuts across that field.
It goes right to, golf course, doesn't it?
It goes to the golf course.
So it heads west, but it goes southwest, because it kind of goes towards Grant, doesn't it? Then it goes, you know.
I think what we could do is just, maybe if you'd like, we can postpone action on the minutes. We have a video and audio recording of it. We can kind of go back through that.
Okay.
Because what we're doing now is we're kind of adding commentary that wasn't had at the meeting, so
Yeah.
let's, if I could make a recommendation for the committee to just not take action on the minutes, postpone action until the next meeting, and then staff can come back and we can rewatch the video and audio and correct it as needed.
Okay, that would be great. So maybe someone can make a motion to postpone the approval of the minutes from the April 11th meeting.
I'll move that we postpone the approval of the minutes till the next meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And thank you for staff for looking at those. Next item is comments from the public. It must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personal issues cannot be discussed, no individual's name, and board is not able to take action at this meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda? Right, hearing nothing, we will continue on. Item 7 is a site plan review.
I didn't do anything with that.
Okay. Joel, anything on site plan review you want to share? God, I can't talk today, sorry.
No, I don't think we had anything of substantial nature. A lot of it was signage related, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been relatively quiet from that perspective, but we'll probably have something coming up here at some point in the near future.
Okay, educational sessions, they're actually on the agenda, so unless there's something else, Rex, that you're thinking of, goes under there. So we'll go on to action items A, discussion and possible action amending the bicycle and pedestrian plan to include bicycle and pedestrian improvements to Borvan Street or Avenue. And Haley, maybe if you could bring up the Borvan area.
Yeah, actually, I asked her to share my screen.
Oh, you got, okay. Okay.
What number is that?
And I'm,
Yep,
eight.
Page 8 and 9 on the packet. Sorry. Okay, so this particular item is being brought forward to the group primarily because we have a development opportunity in the village that is looking at developing a village-owned parcel that is between Mike McCarthy Way and Morvan Street. It has made some press, I guess, over the last 12 to 18 months. It's called the Berkshire Project. Essentially what it is it's two types of development on the same parcel. We have a 60-unit affordable senior housing apartment building, along with some additional workforce development townhomes on that site as well. Again, affordable senior housing, meaning that it has to meet certain age and income criteria for a percentage of the units. Not all of the units are considered affordable. Some of the units will be market rate. And then the workforce development is the same, so it's only a portion of the units that are considered workforce development housing. As part of this development package, the village was or had entered into a development agreement to provide a cash incentive to the developer to develop the site through tax incremental financing. When that development was proposed and some TIF financing was made available for the developer as part of the agreement, one of the conditions of approval was to extend sidewalk on Borvan Street / Borvan Avenue from the development to Mike Van Park. Let's see if I can get my screen to so I'll zoom in the first one here. But basically, it is this parcel located here, immediately to the west of the U.S. Special Delivery site. Now, this particular project, in order to get appropriate financing off the ground, they required some additional financing outside of the tax incremental support that the village was providing. And so we applied through the state of Wisconsin's Department of Administration, a new grant program that's being funded by COVID stimulus money, if you will, or ARPA money that the state received, called the Neighborhood Investment Grant Program. And we were successful in securing that grant. As a result of that grant, to the tune of $4.7 million, they no longer required the village was willing to provide tax incremental financing for it. So the grant is effectively replacing the TIF assistance. And as a result of that, there's really kind of no exchange there on the sidewalk. However, the village could view this as an opportunity to finance the sidewalk construction as part of a project plan for TIF 5. So this is located in TIF 5. And so the infrastructure itself could be paid for through the TIF, which at the end of the day is kind of how it was being negotiated before that anyhow. However, in looking at this development and the proposal to extend sidewalk along Borvan Avenue, we did look at the bike and ped plan, and at present, the plan does not indicate Borvan Street or Avenue as being a road that is planned to have either bike or ped improvements installed on it. So I thought it would be best and beneficial for us to bring this back to committee to see if we want to amend the plan. And then from there, it gives us as a staff a scope to which to work. So if it's just from the development to Mike Van Park, as had been planned as part of the development agreement, or if we're going to look to extend improvements beyond that development along Borvan, to what extent is that scope of work? Does that mean it goes to Holmgren? Does it go beyond Holmgren? That's what. So staff is ultimately kind of looking for a recommendation from committee to either include improvements on Borvan Street, what the scope of those improvements will be, and then to what extent the improvements should be. And then from there, that recommendation would go to village board, and should it be adopted, then we can incorporate that into the tax incremental project plan for TIF 5. And then the board can decide how to fund it in the cycle for the schedule of improvements should that occur. So that's really kind of the basis for conversation. Borvan Avenue is a road that is probably about midpoint through its life cycle. So there aren't any significant improvements to Borvan Avenue, the street itself, or its utilities over the next 10 years. So whatever is planned for that area would be somewhat of a retrofit. The other thing that I will mention to you, and I'm going to try to grab it here, hopefully I can get the right side. See if I can grab a different side here. The other issue we have with this particular site, or one of the challenges, I should say, get to it. I don't remember the guy anymore.
Oh, no, we lost the guy. One of the other thing on this, so Joel's looking for his guy, is on the western ends of Borvan between Holmgren and Oneida, the village approved, there's one hotel there, they just approved a second hotel there. So Borvan will have 2 hotels between Oneida Street and Holmgren Way. And, you know,
Backside.
Pardon?
Or not actually on Borvan.
They're both, they go
Yeah.
Borvan and Morris, they access both sides.
Yeah, that hotel will be located right here, which is next to the existing home 2. Yeah, exactly. So this will be a Hampton Inn adjacent to that. So it is across the way from Holmgren, but on between Borman and Morris.
Yeah, so you can go up to either end of both of those hotels, I think is what was planned. So there's gonna be people coming out of those 2 facilities as well, trying to get moved.
I don't use Mike McCarthy Way all that often, so I know we've done some nice things there, but I don't really have a clear picture of what we've done. How far have we extended bike and pedestrian facilities to the west? Have we gone to Holmgren? Have we gone to Oneida?
I believe there's sidewalk, the whole stretch of Mike McCarthy Way.
I think all the way from
On both
Ashwaubenon
sides.
Frontage Road
Okay.
to Oneida, I
Yep.
believe.
Exactly. Until Oneida was extended.
It's an
So all the way down on
oversized.
both sides.
Yeah. So for consistency's sake, should we do the same thing in the street, or is this a different enough animal that we should consider it separately?
Well, and it's really kind of a preference of the committee, and I think originally the plan, when you look at the map, Mike McCarthy was listed as kind of a collector street, so higher volumes of traffic. It is a 4-lane, although not divided highway or roadway. It is 4 lanes for a significant portion of that, so you have higher volumes of traffic. I believe that's an exit road for Packer game days and things of that
That's the
nature.
main exit, so
So it's appropriate there.
Mhm.
Borvan, not so much, kind of more of a local street. So different,
residential on one side, at least park residential on one side, back to business on the other side.
so one of the challenges with the Borvan project itself, from the Berkshire Project to Mike Van Park, is this fence that US Specialty has. You can kind of see it on the street view. There are portions of this fence that may extend into public right of way. That was found when the village redid Mike McCarthy. They had a fence on the other side in which they had to relocate that fence in order to accommodate the sidewalk. Now that sidewalk, that was again a 4-lane road with sidewalk up against the back edge of curb. So it was a little bit more constrained space-wise just for that purpose. But in this particular case, there could be a situation where we would have to relocate that fence in order to construct the sidewalk. So that's one of the concerns that staff and the board has, is that we would need to notify this business of those issues, and we'd have to do some survey work so we can identify where that location actually is and what impacts that fence may have. If it's in the right of way, we could order them to relocate it. Ultimately, the village could find, well, no, we could retrofit the sidewalk in and work around the fence. There's just a number of factors that need to be taken into consideration as to what the actual physical impacts will be on Borvan as it relates to the installation of this sidewalk. You can see on this particular image, there are overhead power poles on the south side of Orban. There may be utilities on here. I don't know. That would be a question more for public works folks.
Would there be sidewalks on both sides then, are you saying?
Under the proposal for the Berkshire development, it was just going to be on the north side, essentially from this open lot down here. I scoot up here. This is the Berkshire site. So we would extend sidewalk from there. And you can see the hydrant, obviously, and where the fence is. We would have a challenge there. So either the fence has to move or the hydrant has to move in order to fit sidewalk there. But essentially, we'd run it down along the north side of Orban, all the way down to Mike Van, and create some kind of landing spot for bicyclists with a pad and a bike rack and things like that. That was the goal.
I think the thing you have to think about in this particular road, it is in the entertainment district. It probably will end up having some redevelopment as part of it. And part of the redevelopment, we've already got 2 hotels going in there, maybe more development that would lead people to walk in that area just to get like from the hotel to a little coffee shop, maybe that gets redeveloped. So I think you really need to keep that in mind and look at the grid. You know, we got Mike McCarthy that has, you know, it's a very heavily used area. There's a lot going on up there, so it's got big sidewalks. Before Van, still will have people moving. Some people will choose to walk Van instead of a very busy road, 4-lane road, like Joel said, with lots more traffic. So having a safe space for them to walk is important on that. Pardon? Right, and Van doesn't go, it's for bicycle accommodations, for instance, because it only goes between Dove on the east side to Oneida Street on the west side. It doesn't take a bicyclist. Most bicyclists are not going to go
Yeah,
that
I
way.
bicycled
They're
down
going to
there.
go Morris or whatever and get up to the park
Yeah, I
that way.
bicycled down there because I take my car once in a while to Bernie's Auto on Borvan. And biking is not a problem on that
Right.
street. I'm more
No.
concerned about pedestrians
Right.
on that street.
Yes, yes, and with, you know,
So for any biker with any skill, that's a decent street to ride
right,
on.
it's easy, it's a quieter street, you know, it's maybe won't get as busy as Morris or Mike McCarthy is, it might be, you know, somewhere that's
But
more
if
residential.
people want to walk on there, you also allow cars to park. So if you walk in the street, you have to go around those cars.
Yeah.
So I think I would be more concerned about pedestrian facilities
Me too,
Me too,
than biking.
especially with the 2 hotels.
right,
You're gonna get a lot more.
and you have grandpa taking the grandkids over to park. And, you know, to have a safe place for them to walk, especially from the senior facility, get them off of the road and into their space and be able to safely get there without having to worry about car sharing a space with motor vehicles.
And then for snow, would the property owners be the ones who cleared it?
To my knowledge, this would not qualify as a safe routes. So,
Okay.
so yes, the property owners would have to maintain the sidewalk.
Just so that we're on record as understanding that when they complain.
Yeah.
Would that be a truck company?
Yeah, so in this particular case, if we were to put something in over the next 5 years, US Specialty would be responsible for paying, so just like they do on Mike McCarthy.
Are they a big truck company?
If they're big enough, but I'm sure they're not gonna be happy about it.
But by the crystal ball, I'm thinking the next 15 years, maybe they're not going to be there. It's better to have the sidewalk in place now as opposed to putting in 15 years from now.
Very
That's
well
my
could be the
thinking.
case, right?
Because if we're changing now to hotels, it's going to change eventually for the US Specialty too. So that would be my thought that, yeah, they have to clear it now. Maybe that'll give them incentive to sell the property and build something else. Small, I know it's small, just clearing it, but yeah, I always for doing it now as opposed to later, it's gonna cost more.
So I think what we'd want to do here is just really kind of identify the scope of where you want it. The timing is going to be something that we'll have to determine probably at a later date, just because of the impact that it may have on the adjacent property owners. So if you're thinking sidewalks, both sides of the street, essentially from Mike Van Park over to Oneida Street, That would be identified on the plan and the map. This is planned for pedestrian improvements. And then from there, I think the village can decide through both its TIP project planning process and its budgeting process, the timing and sequence of that. And the only reason why I say that is that, again, when you look at the street view, I think it's pretty self-evident that this road has a service life to it. So that surface is not going to get redone anytime soon. Certainly probably not going to have a reconstruct, but there are a number of properties here that you can see. So this again is the Berkshire site right here. That one will get sidewalks as part of the development. So they're going to have a sidewalk in their right of way. But then if you go down further to the west, you have a lot of conflicts that are going to occur outside of just U.S. specialty. So you can see the fence here, you can see the hydrant. This road will probably require some type of full reconstruct in order to really get everything matched in appropriate or some significant redevelopment. So it's just something I think everybody on the committee and the board needs to be cognizant of, because it does have impacts to individual property owners and some of the improvements that they've made, but also to other infrastructure that the village has, utilities and so forth. We just have to be, I guess my point is, we just have to be sensitive to that fact that there are impacts to others that we want to make sure we're being cognizant of.
Well, and I think everybody probably is aware of that when you're going into an area that you're redeveloping or that you're adding a sidewalk to, you are going to have conflicts. That's the reality of it. And it's just how important is to the village and to the, the decision makers that that's important enough to tackle some of those. And maybe in some cases it is, in some cases like, okay, we're going to wait. But this is a plan. This is just in the plan, just like any of the other stuff we have in the plan that is in there. It allows staff then to say, okay, this is the bike ped plan. As we're moving forward, they have a developer come in and develop that green space there, for instance. And they know that in our plan, we're calling for bike ped accommodations. And that's something you have to consider when you do development. So it's a way to help development. And there's going to be challenges. That's the reality of it. There are.
I think Tracy brings up a really good point too. Is one of the ordinance amendments that we recently adopted is the ability to require pedestrian improvements on new site plans if they come in. Now, again, those site plans should be consistent with our plans. So as Tracy mentioned, if a new development comes in on Borvan and we've identified the street as one that requires improvements, now we can require under our own code that that developer install them on their parcel. And it's consistent with that. And so that's important to point out as well.
Yeah, you guys may not know that came from our committee to look at the commercial development, like we did with residential requiring sidewalks on both sides. As Joel said, it went to, does it come to village board yet? So go to village board.
We'll go with the village board
at the end of the month, right?
The 24th.
Yeah. So it did pass site plan review and plan commission to require, like Joel said, sidewalks in commercial redevelopment and so that'll be all different developments in our community, which would be nice.
So again, just looking for direction from the committee as to what the recommendation would be for scope for the project and then the location and the distance for that project.
Any other questions, anybody? Anything else you want to add or clarify? Is anyone that would like to make a motion in regard to this? You'd be welcome. I'm the public safety end, you guys. Do you have on Borvan during game kind of thing? Is there, is it busy? How's that road during that time?
The street gets pretty full with cars on both sides. So
then people walking, obviously, they're walking in the street or the grass or wherever they can to get through that. Is it the road? Okay.
That area seems to usually fill up earlier on as well too, so haven't had too many problems with the flood yet. It's certainly within that area that fills up.
So I guess we need to decide whether we want sidewalks on both sides or just the north side and how far we want them to go.
Yes, so from where to where, like Joe said, we want to, from like Van Park to Oneida, and we want both sides, one side, just a motion that we can put into the plan then specifying where we would like sidewalks to be considered when development occurs.
put them on the south side and development occurs, there's also residential on the south side. If I am correct, residential's gonna have to also extend to their property, and then they'll have to clear this one too.
Yep, no different than the commercial. Yep.
Residential and commercial.
I think there are three
Isn't that
There's
just one?
duplexes.
residential,
Duplexes,
a
I
couple
think.
duplexes and maybe
Yeah.
one on the corner is a single family. but
Yep.
3 residential properties, the rest is commercial.
Well, I will make a motion to get us at least thinking about it. I would make a motion that we require sidewalk from Dove Avenue, or McMahon Park, to Oneida Street on both sides of the road on Ashwaubenon.
I'll second it then.
Any other discussion or questions?
Are you going to state, Tracy, as development occurs, or it's just automatically we're going to try to do sidewalks?
No, I don't think it matters. It's in the plan, and now staff will have that as a backbone, I guess, to be able to go back when they're working with developers to say, in our bike plan, this is part of what they would like to see in this development.
Okay.
So give them a leg to stand on when they're meeting with developers.
So did you say from Dove to Holmgren or
Down to Oneida. Yes, that's what I meant to say. Any other questions or comments, anybody? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So then that will be added into, it'll go to the village board end of the month. And then we'll, if it passes, we'll add it into the master plan. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna skip 9B because Natalie will not be able to make it. 9C is discussion on pedestrian bicycle crash. I had asked Kyle to talk to us today about a crash that he was recently in on his bicycle, just to kind of review it with us and talk about what happened and the importance of him having some identification with him to help him as the aftermath of the crash.
So this is the helmet that I was wearing. I don't use this anymore, but you want to look, that's the side I landed on. And it was on Fish Creek Road, near crossing Duck Creek between Lambie Road and Highway E. And I've seen the police report, and the way the police report states is people driving by stopped and called in that there was someone unconscious and bleeding on the road. So that was me. And Outagamie County Sheriff came out, and I was wearing a road ID, and this is the one I had. If you're familiar with road ID, it has my name and my contact information, who to call. So the sheriff in Outagamie tried to call my wife, and she didn't recognize the number. We have so much spam calls, she didn't answer it. And on my son's Verizon phone, it showed that the Outagamie County Sheriff was calling him. So he thought, well, I'll answer this. And so he picked my wife up and took her to the hospital, and we're there before the ambulance got me to the hospital. I don't remember the crash. I couldn't tell you what, I think I hit a pothole and just went off because the front rim was broken, the tire was gone, and was blown out. And I was in ICU for 3 days. I don't remember any of that. And the way they was able to contact was through road ID. And I have 2 of them. The initial one I had, I just wear it and it just has my name and information on. And the second one has a place where you can contact road ID, and I have a file on there so they could see my medical history and who my doctors are and my health insurance. But I don't think I'll be riding without this.
And I have one that I just wear in my watch, same thing, my name, my emergency contact number. So I guess, I just asked Kyle to talk about it, but the importance of him having some identification with him. So just encouraging all of you, as well as our residents when they're out walking, biking, running, whatever they're doing out there, to make sure they have some identification with them. It's important. I mean, Kyle's family got to the hospital before he did.
Yeah.
because they could find who he was. If they weren't able to, can you imagine that? He's there and they're trying to figure out who the heck he is. They know how to get his family, get in touch with his family.
Because I might carry my wallet, I had my trail pass, but that I had name on it, but that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. How does one get road ID?
Just look up roadid.com and they have all, like, they have type like Kyle has, they have where they can help sidekick.
I wear it on my wrist. Some people put it on their bike.
Yeah.
So it's a private thing. It's not like something you get from the Department of Motor Vehicles.
It's a private thing, and I don't know what the basic one costs. You pay once, and they send you the bracelet. It's $20 or $25, and but the other one, I know I pay $10 a year or every 6 months, so just so they, keep up to date the file, and I can go in and change it anytime. Oh, when I ride up to Door County. I have a ride that I like that goes through Freedom and goes into Little Chute, kind of around there. So I thought if I crash there, they're just going to take me to the nearest hospital. The hospital here had my information, so they were able to look my records up. But the hospital's down there, the hospital's in Door County.
So that being said, how do you think is the best way to get the word out to our residents that this might be a nice option for them without promoting a particular business?
Right. Yeah. Maybe
how do we do that?
Yeah, maybe if Haley could do something, on the village website or Facebook or whatever, just kind of, it's that time of year, and like Linda said at the beginning of the meeting, she's seen a lot more people out walking. So just encouraging them to get out there and do their thing, walk, bike, do whatever, but to make sure they have identification with them. That's important. And,
Tracy?
Yep.
This is Dale. So I think we need to go further than that if we can. So could we use Wello or somebody like that to, not necessarily, and first of all, Kyle, thank goodness you're okay. But could we somehow use an example? We don't have to use names, so people do understand, because it's not just our community.
Right.
It's Brown County. I would have never thought of it till he just said it. I usually carry a phone, but it's pretty tough to get into an iPhone.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and the police departments here, have you guys had an incident where you've had someone that you've come upon and they have no ID or no identification with them?
Yeah, if they have a phone, we usually try to check, because you can access the ICE folder through the startup screen. So we'll try to check that. But yeah, we run into people that don't have any identification unless they become conscious while we're dealing with them. We have no.
So then you take them to the hospital, and then the hospital tries to figure it out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have less records than we do. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, even, as Ben said, it's important, for them too, for the public safety department to have ID right away, and makes it easier for them to contact family members too and let them know what's going on. So yeah, we could certainly reach out to Wello and see, Dale, if they've done something like that. They might have. Natalie, they may have something that they've already put together in that regard. So I guess
they just had an article in the paper, so obviously they put things in I don't know how many people get the newspaper, but there was just one in there for something else.
Yeah.
And then if Haley has the ability to put the slide together, then we can put it on the village Facebook page, and then I can put it on the Park and Rec page as well.
Rex, the Park and Rec sends that little pamphlet booklet out of activities once or twice a year. Is it possible we just put a paragraph or two in there that?
Yeah.
Reminding people to carry ID when they're biking or walking. They'll know wear a helmet.
The next one won't be out until late August, but that's certainly a section that we can reserve some space for. Maybe I'll talk with you if you wouldn't mind sharing your story.
That's fine, yeah.
To some extent, because I think that it's real world situation that when people see what exactly has happened and why it's important versus just the village telling you it's good to do this.
Also, I was thinking, I don't know if you have availability to do have to do a video almost for Haley that she could put out, saying this is what happened to me, this is why it's important to do this. And then, like I said, it's someone in our community that had an issue, and if you'd be willing to do that, and if we could get something like that up too, I think that would be a good thing too.
Yeah.
Rex, can there be something that I could blast? Inform people about it?
Feel free.
I'm not good at I'm not, I'm just wondering if they're, I'm thinking like Willow or something like that.
Wallow is welcome to set up a tent
Maybe
at
they could set
our
up-
labs as a
Yeah.
community organization. Or a county organization.
I don't know if there's anything with the schools, Dirk, that you could think of to get out to the kids even.
Well, it does occur to me that on June 21st, that's the bike rodeo that Officer Dunlap does every year for little kids.
Yeah.
And obviously they ride bikes a lot more than older kids do. And I'm thinking about this whole scenario with a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, who often don't have cell phones and don't have driver's licenses, and they'd be less likely to ride than anybody else. I mean, that certainly is a group of people getting together for bike safety things, so
Yeah.
that would make some sense.
Yeah, maybe Officer Dunlop can do something with that too, She's run that for many, many years. And put something together.
We had a woman that we were dealing with as far as medical issues, and she had a bracelet that had a QR code on it, and you scan it, and then it brought up all of her medical information. So I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, I know you can order medical bracelets online too, that maybe that's one what she had that put all their information on there as well. All right, anything else on your crash, Kyle? I'm sorry that you wiped out this one.
I still don't know what happened. Usually I'm pretty careful. I must have just been distracted. If there was a pothole there, if I had a pothole, I don't know how I didn't see it because I didn't go, but
Yeah, happens quick.
Yeah.
And I got hit, it
How
was
long
like,
ago was this, Tom?
March 20th.
Pretty recent.
it's scary. 1 minute you're up, the next minute you're up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had broken ribs, a broken clavicle. So I'm in the hospital and they told me I had a broken ribs and broken collarbone. And I thought, oh, that stuff heals. I'm going to be okay. And every time somebody came in, they would shine a flashlight in my eyes and ask me what my date of birth was and why I was there. And I thought, that's kind of, my kids came up from Houston and I thought, what's the big deal? Those ribs are going to heal. And then I got home, my wife said, you were in the ICU for 3 days. And the emergency room doctor said, if I hadn't been wearing a helmet, I might not have survived.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, if I wasn't wearing a helmet, I wouldn't have been riding down that hill like that. But so it just happened, one of those things. And
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anything else? Always thank you for sharing it. I appreciate it. People can learn from it. Hopefully, someone else crashes or has a problem and they have idea on them, they can get help, get their family there real quick, All right, so we'll work on that. I may talk to Natalie, see if there's anything that Willow has that we can just duplicate almost instead of starting from scratch. And if there's anything for the kids that we can come up with, I'll get health safety manager and see if there's anything to get out to them too. So good ideas. And maybe Willow would come to the class.
Yeah.
All right. 9D is a discussion on the winter trail clearing, just a preliminary discussion. And I had asked Rex to put this on. As most of you know, we had gone to the village board last year to ask for them to put money into the budget for us actually to contract out to have someone come and clear a certain portion of the trails as almost like a trial basis.
Yep.
The village didn't actually put money in, but what the village board did was they added an additional person into Public Works. And then they upgraded one of Rex's employees to another level, saying that those 2 employees would be, maybe not specifically them, but adding those people would add the ability to clear the trails, some of the trails. So I guess I talked to Rex and said, we probably should get working on that or looking into that a little bit so we can see where we're at. Because all of a sudden the snow will fly, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. And for us to be ready for it and say, okay, these are kind of what we're thinking. Or if we have some more questions that we would like to get back to Public Works and Park and Rec and have them do some more research for us to make a determination. And like Rex said in his memo, it doesn't have to be totally determined today, but we just wanted to kick it around and see what your thoughts are for that, because the committee was very instrumental in and putting this forth to the village board and getting it to be part of the budget for this year for the first time.
Tracy, have we determined what trails we're gonna try to plow?
That's what the agenda item.
Yeah, I think when some of our discussion we had, like later in the process, was Ashwaubenon River Trail.
That was number one.
Yeah, and then we talked about, we were kind of talking Packland, but like Rexton is saying, there are some challenges on that trail. And then we talked about, the southwest area. So you have the Acres Trail, you have the one on Wabi, you have West Main Avenue Trail, you have Argonne, which my understanding is Argonne has been cleared for years anyway, so I don't know if Argonne needs to be in
I think it does.
Okay.
Officially, yeah.
Okay.
Because it'll be these guys that probably now do it.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple discussion points, and I don't know if we ever really fully nailed it down. I know there was a discussion on Packerland, but I think we kind of pushed that because of some of these challenges more towards the bottom of the list. This is just my recollection. I think the discussion we had, other than the Ashwaubenon River Trail, which I believe everyone agreed with should be number one, was that do we do something more for multimodal transportation to get from point A to point B, or do we do a trail in a neighborhood where the neighborhood can take more advantage of the exercising, where like let's say Sand Acres Drive from Grant Street to West Main. There's a lot of homes on that, and so granted the whole neighborhood's not sidewalks, but this is a pathway on a busy in a busy residential neighborhood that a lot of people would be able to use. So that's one way to look at it. Or the other way to look at it is like a Wabi Trail. Not as many residential, but it can get you from point A to point B if you're using that trail for work transportation. Like the bus leaves me off up here, but I gotta get way down here and I just take the trail down to the business where I work at.
Right.
So there's two different types of uses. So that's kind of where I think we left it. I don't think we decided on what we really wanted, what was the most important to the group, and that was going to help determine what like number 2, 3, and 4 might be on the list.
We have a total, we had discussed about 10.3 miles of trail for all the trails that you want, some of the ones that Rex mentioned. And I think we had talked about, because Ashwaubenon River is about 1.3, Sand Acres is about a mile. And then we had talked about Wabi, that's just over a mile. And then we talked about Packland, and that's the biggest stretch, that's 3.2 miles is Packland. So then we're kind of like, okay, maybe Packland is more of a challenge to take on right now. There's some things we need to do before we can start really clearing it. So let's look at other ones. So we kind of talked about the 3.2 in Packland and the 1.3 with Ashwaubenon River. So looking at about close to 5 miles, I guess, 4.5 miles. So then we had said, okay, if we take Packland out of the mix, what would we put in to meet that, get back up to those 4 miles? That's probably as specific as we got. We didn't pinpoint trails. I have a lot of residents in my area that Wabi Lane is really important because Wabi Lane is a 4-lane road. When that trail is not open, and it's the same thing with Packland, you literally cannot move through that area by foot because you are on the road. And who wants to walk down Packland or Wabi Lane? Nobody. I've run down Wabi and almost gotten picked off by people. So there's no option for people in those areas to walk safely in the winter with those trails. Like you said, if someone gets off the bus, has to walk down to Eileen's Candy to go to work, they have to walk on the road when the trails aren't clear.
I'm going to throw a new one into the mix as well. It's the new Highland Ridge development.
Yeah.
Got it written down because that's also.
Will that be done next year or at the end of this year? I know
it will be. I think it'll be done. Joel maybe can answer that question, but I don't know if there's enough
homes built to
make it worthwhile doing something like that for this upcoming winter season.
Probably right.
In the future, there will be.
Yeah. So Highland Ridge Estates will have.
But that being said, I would imagine the Highland Ridge Estates would kind of tie in with the Sand Acres Trail.
And then Sand Acres ties into West Main, West
West
Main
Main.
ties into Industrial Park, into, I mean, there's just a ton of them in the southwest corner of the village, so. And I guess the question for the village staff is,
And we don't, and here's the other X factor too, we don't know what we can do, because we've never done it before. You know, like, we don't know, okay, so we've got 2 guys that are going to be doing this when, you know, when the streets are cleared and the safe routes to school are cleared, and then the school district properties are cleared. All right, so then the trails come in. And so we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know.
right,
You know,
right,
like, you know, that, and that's why it's important to get that, well, you know, what are the priorities? What's 1 through 6, you know, basically. So then we'll figure it out as we go along. Yeah, we can do 1, 2, and 3, but it gets a little dicey at 4 because we didn't have the time to do it and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of where, you know, what do we tackle first, you know, during this whole process?
I guess my feeling is we learn how to walk before we learn how to run. So let's do the easiest ones. So we learn how to do it. So the staff learns how to do it. You know, the staff that's doing it and the people who are supervising that, making decisions, we kind of figure this out, and then it allows us to move into the more challenging. You know, I see the Fox River Trail, and we talked about that being the first one, and to me, that would be the easiest one. So that's kind of where we want to start. If we did Wabi,
you mean Ashwaubenon River Trail?
Ashwaubenon, yeah. You know, if our second choice would be Wabi, that would give us sort of a learning curve to do, because there's more businesses and probably more conflict areas there. You know, that would be a learning experience, to just try to, you know, figure that out or make the mistakes there. And
I mean, no matter where we go, you know, if let's say we don't do Sand Acres, for instance, we're gonna have calls, because when I was out campaigning, a lot of people in Sand Acres are like, why don't we plow this thing? It's ridiculous. And we should plow this. And a lot of people in my neighborhood want Wabi open. Great. And a lot of people in your neighborhood probably want Packerland open. And we have that young lady that's handicapped, lives on Packerland. Can't get out of her, you know, can't go anywhere because the trail isn't open for her use. So, you know, there's people everywhere. So, you know, I think the thing that's important for us to do is to say this is a fun, you know, get the word out to the public that, you know, this is kind of a trial thing. We're going to start with these and see how it goes. And this is our goal. And, you know, it may not be perfect kind of thing, and just kind of let people know, because what'll happen is we'll start Wabi, and then we'll have a day that they can't get to it, and then people will call. It'll be reality of it. But I think if we get the word out, just kind of letting people know what we're doing, what we're trying to do, and trying to hit that as, you know, keep consistent with it as much as we can, you know, and not take off more than we can handle, you know, but maybe hitting 3 different, you know, areas that are kind of different, you know, just to see.
I say Argonne is the first because it's been plowed and there's a lot of people that walk it.
Right.
Tons. I mean, just their dogs, the park, what have you.
Well, and
And
it's
then I
part of
would
the
say-
Packer area too,
Yeah,
right?
and I
That's
would
one of the
say the
reasons.
second would be, and we talked about this before, with the Ashwaubenon River Trail, Ashwaubenon River Trail, because we talked about that and said, and I thought we even said as a committee, let's just do one residential area first and see how it is used, how many people use it. And then if a lot of people use it, that's your bait, shall we say, to go to the next area and say, well,
They're already
using it.
they're already plowing the Ashwaubenon River Trail on
Okay.
their own, like
Yeah,
private
so
vehicles.
that, and that's the other reason,
Stealth-wise.
that's the other reason we decided that, you know, if we get a lot of people on there, and then the following year, we can say, oh, then now we're gonna get a lot of people on Sand Acres because we got a lot of people on that trail. And then the third, to make it equity wise, I would think would be Wabi for work. You have residential work, you've got to have one for work. That's the knowledge of next 3. We had to go for it, would be Sand Acres. But those 3, I think, are essential, and Sand Acres would be the 4th thing.
So what's on the table is Argonne, number 1.
That's why I would say that doesn't make a
Okay,
difference.
okay. Ashwaubenon River Trail 2, Wabi 3, Sand Acres 4. Does anyone have different opinions, different thoughts?
The one thing we talked about, Rex?
Yep.
The one thing we talked about is when we're plowing through those businesses' driveways, how do we keep them, we plow the snow into their driveway, then how do we maintain that?
Just have to let them know. I mean, you're gonna have to communicate, I think, with the businesses. On Wabi, Perini, the business on the corner of Wabi and Bridge, they plowed that sidewalk or that trail all winter this year. I mean, granted, we didn't have a lot of snow, but that was cleared and they cleared it. I don't know why, if they just decided all of a sudden to clear it. I don't know who they hired, just thought they had to clear it and they did. But they had that cleared all summer, or all winter. So I think we just need to communicate with the business and say, this is what we're doing and kind of coordinate it to a certain
The only thing
degree.
is to coordinate it though is, let's say because typically a business is gonna have somebody come in pretty early to plow. Now our guy's gonna come in 2 or 3 hours later and they're gonna have a furrow, if you will, of snow that's in the way for their employees to get in and out of and the guy's not gonna be coming back to clean it. I mean, Rex brought this up, that was one of the big deals on Packerland, right? So it's just something I want you to keep in mind because it could be an issue versus moving, because in my recollection, we were going to move down south towards the South Ridge and the Wabi to start, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since we talked about it.
I say they shovel. I lived on a sidewalk for years by the school, and they plowed it, and guess what? I had to shovel what they plowed.
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the driveway.
Dale, I live on Cormier Road. I have a sidewalk in front of my yard and they always come through 15 minutes after I'm done.
Yeah.
You just shovel it. And it's not like it's a big, huge, I mean, the rest of the driveway is cleared. You just shovel that end of it, and you want to do the end of the driveway too. So I think it's just a part of life. Keep a big shovel there and have someone shovel it, or a small snowblower, or what have you. I know we talked about Wabi. I just think Wabi's important because, and if you look at Argonne, it's on the north side. You look at Fox River Trail or Ashwaubenon Trail, it's in the middle. You look at Sand Acres, it's a little south, Wabi's south the middle, and Sand Acres is the most south. So you're getting the spectrum of the village also, without yet Highland Ridge and Packland and those we can consider lately, but no one can complain if you're getting, and if we're doing our kind already, so it'd only be like 3 that would be extra.
So does anyone, Annette, would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
Those are your 4 in that order?
Can I just add one other thing before you do your motion? I think with Packerland, we at least need, I know we won't plow this for sure, I get that, because I agree with Rex, there's some challenges out there. But I think we need to step forward and look at what the challenges actually are. Okay, we got this guy wire, we got this part of the trail that's really in bad shape, and get an idea of what our challenges are, how they could be taken care of, and potentially what the costs are. So then we don't come to this next year and we go, well, what about Packerland this year? We're like, oh, we haven't looked at any of that. So I think just to get us moving, so if we decide that we want to do Packerland in the future, at least we have an idea and we've taken some steps to potentially see if we can do it. Maybe reaching out to businesses and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Because some of them, again, on Packerland are clearing that. And then we have the issue with Oneida Nation owns part of it, and I think Hobart is responsible part. There's a big section of Hobart, they clear themselves. Why are they doing that? I don't think they clear it. I think, again, there's someone that goes out there and does it, a stealth guy that just goes and does it at night, at midnight when no one's around.
It's definitely not village.
Yeah, so it isn't, no. But there's issues, but if we don't start taking steps forward and say, okay, what are they and how do we maybe get to the point where we can
Those
do this?
issues are the same ones that was brought up by Ashwaubenon.
Right, exactly.
Right along. So
Right.
I can talk about them. There's the island on the corner of 172 in Packerland.
Yep.
That because of the cross through, that you literally need to hand work it, or you need like a portable snowblower to clear it. Like the equipment won't fit on there to do it. That was one thing. There's the stretch basically from McDonald's down to Schwann's, roughly, give or take a little bit, where there's very little right of way. Like there's the pathway, which is kind of the same thing as parking. Like parking is right up to the pathway. So there's nowhere to put snow. So the only way to plow that is to literally have equipment, payloaders, taking the snow, putting it in trucks and trucking it away because there's nowhere else to put the snow. And for, at least for that stretch, there were a couple of tie wires that would need to be relocated because a pickup truck would not, it would tear off potentially the top of the truck or some of the lights or something like that. And the other issue was, I believe there's a couple areas where we would need to work on re-leveling the trails so that some of the sewer utility caps weren't sticking up so much. Otherwise, a plow blade would shear those off. Now, the toughest part of that is kind of kitty corner from Hidden Valley Park. And I contacted actually Northeast to give me a quote on cutting out a section and re-leveling it. I don't know if you know what section I'm talking about. Literally kitty corner from Packland and Skylark where it comes out there. There's maybe about a 5-foot stretch, but it's got a big manhole and it's got like a couple of water sewer things. It's sunk. So we're looking at what that would cost, which is also, but there's when I say there's challenges, that there's some bigger challenges cost-wise, not just to get them done, but long-term costs.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying, you know what they are. You have a good handle on them. And for us, to look at it in the future and know, okay, these are the 10 areas, challenge areas, and these are estimated costs, so we can start maybe picking some up and preparing it to someday be plowed and taking care of that, so we can say, okay, this, we're gonna try to do these this year, that year. So just to have a plan, I guess, so we know that someday we can hopefully go ahead and plow it because we've done these 10 problem areas. So just something to work on and get down on paper so we have a feel for that and can budget accordingly, picking off pieces of it. I guess that's all I'm asking for. So it just doesn't get lost. And we just never do it because we always have challenges.
Tracy, I agree that it's going to be a challenge, and I really would like to see that done because it's a pretty neat trail. But I guess my feeling is, let's figure this out first. Let's figure out what we're doing. Let's figure out what it costs, man-wise, equipment-wise, and then look at that after we have an understanding of really what we're trying to do. Because right now we don't know how well this is going to work. Although we do plow some of the safe routes to school, this is going to kind of be a new thing for the village and for staff. And
it is new, but it's not new for municipalities to do this. Green Bay clears all their trails. It's a combination of Public Works and the Parks Department. They clear all the trails, and they do it. And granted, it's going to be a learning curve for us to do it, but it's not unusual. It's not like no one has ever cleared trails in their community. I mean, actually, the trails have been cleared for many years now. So it's something that's doable. It's just new. And we just need to take baby steps to get there. And I agree. I just think just in my mind, we can certainly go with these. I'm not saying that I think, and that's motion is fine. I just think Packland, we need to at least think about.
And that's the area I'm from, the Packer land, and we're the ones that requested possibly could it be plowed because we had a tough time walking on that. But I did share that there are many challenges with it too, so people understand.
Okay, so with that,
make the motion to make a motion that winter trails be cleared on Argonne Street. Is it Ashwaubenon Trail? Ashwaubenon River Trail. The third is Wabi Lane, and the fourth Sandy Acres. Trial base or just to do?
Just to do. Okay. Everybody understand the motion?
So the ones that are still left hanging out there for future consideration are going to be Packer Lane, West Main, Industrial Park,
Highland.
and Highland.
Any questions on that? Does anyone want to second that motion?
I second.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Dale, did you say aye? I didn't hear you.
I
Or
did.
you? Okay.
I did. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So then you, Rex, you and Douglas sit down and brainstorm and see where you're at and get back to us. And That would be great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're down to 10, review and possible action on the 2018 plan project. Anything to add? The only thing, if the board van thing goes to village board, that could be added. Oh, yeah, that would be kind of, I don't know. Anything else? Okay, anything else on that, anybody? We'll go to department reports, Rex, Park and Rec, what's the first?
Really nothing new. The village is working with the developer at Alton Station, as well as McMahon and Grafe. The grant is ready to be submitted except for the grading plan at Alton Station, which they're kind of going back and forth on a little bit, hopefully soon to be. And as soon as that's done, it's ready to be turned in.
And that's the grant that you got? Or is this?
That is for the bridge, the plan for the bridge going
Okay.
across the channel, which needs to be vetted by the DNR.
Okay.
Essentially, what we're trying to do is sequence grading between the condominium project on lot 26 and the bridge project. And depending on when they start and when we start, we want to make sure that our grades match in with the approaches to the bridge. If they don't, then we might have retaining walls and some other things which we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So we're just working in partnership with Alton Station to make sure it gets matched in effectively and don't have those issues.
I should notice that there should note, just as a heads up, on the Sand Acres Park Trail. So this is the gravel trail between Sand Acres and the park that follows the on top of the pipeline.
Okay.
So the Berkshire Project, they are doing some work there for the next week or two. There was an A&R pipeline, I believe it is the keeper of that. And they're having to excavate a section of the trail and inspect the pipes below as part of an overall big process. And I don't know if there's an issue down there, they're just checking to see in general how things are going. But all the residents have been notified that trail will be closed for probably the next week or two. And then they're supposed to restore it to its original condition. But just as an FYI, if you ever use that trail, or someone says something to you about it in the bike and pedestrian world, that's what's going on.
And West Main got paved, right, the trail?
West Main got paved, not as well as we wanted to, unfortunately. There are some utility piping, manhole covers, utility covers that aren't necessarily level or they're cockeyed. Not our fault. It's one of the contractors who was doing the work there, so I need to go out tomorrow morning and then meet with Steve Burke and figure out whether they are good or whether or not we're going to not accept them, which means they'll have to saw cut that area out, reset any piping or covers, and then repave. And I've already said if it's unsafe, then that's what's going to have to be done, regardless of it means. Unfortunately, that means now you've got square saw cuts in the trail, and that over time that creates more maintenance issues. But that's what's going on with the trail. But it is paved and then is soon to be regraded and re-landscaped.
The concrete aprons are going fairly soon, or?
Martell has done some work on there already, I think, and is going to be doing that over the next week or two.
Oh, great. That's good. Yeah, it looks good from a distance when I go by. So nice to see, yeah.
Always something.
Never as easy, is it? Okay, anything state DOT? Anybody have anything from state DOT? Okay. How about Ashwaubenon Public Safety? We do have a new representative, Officer Linville, is that his name? Ben is going to be a rep now, Brian, is that correct? Or are you going to share or what?
We'll share tag team.
Share, yeah.
So, yeah, actually, Lieutenant Ben Limbo here, he was recently promoted and getting him involved in this, so he'll be involved with these. I'll probably still be poking my head in as well. As far as goings on with our department, we are overall staffing, we are still 4 bodies down, but doing a hiring process this weekend, looking to bolster that. As far as traffic related things, I'll give you a rundown of some activities and then our crash data. We do have a click it or ticket deployment, Brown County click it or ticket task force that will be deployed in the village of Ashwaubenon tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We've got officers from our agency, Brown County Sheriff, Green Bay PD, Wrightstown, and Hobart Lawrence PD will be participating in that. Later this month, we'll have a OWI task force within the village. We'll have all those agencies plus State Patrol jumps on board with that one. We may have an appear with that one as well. And usually Oneida PD hops on those as well. And that'll be a directed concentrated patrol within the village. We are working with Wello and some other area law enforcement agencies to nail down some deployment dates. We are looking at a day in June, hopefully to do kind of an end of school date. We're also looking at a day in August and a day in October for walk to school day in October. Don't have those dates yet finalized, but those are in the works with ourselves, De Pere, Brown County, and Green Bay.
Is that for the Frogger then?
Yep, that'd be the Frogger
prospect
deployment.
thing?
Yeah, and it was discussed with Chief Ewell and Deputy Chief Kozlowski and how our agency wants to participate in that. And we will be posting dedicated overtime slots for that so that we can dedicate manpower towards that and fully participate. We do have some special events coming up. We do have the bike rodeo coming up 21st of June. SRO, School Resource Officer Jackie Dunlap will be heading that up. Great event for kids, families. You get bike helmets and some other things that make it worth coming in addition to a good time and some education. We do have some rather unique event coming up. I'm sure you guys have seen in the news that there's going to be a Major League Soccer exhibition game. And then we also have the marathon coming up this weekend as well. We've done marathons before. Soccer game's going to be kind of a new one. Probably run that like a Packer game, but we'll see. That'll be something different. Had some one notable recent case. This actually happened on Lieutenant Limbo's shift. This past weekend, we had a intoxicated driver who was also armed with a firearm. Taken into custody without further incident, but that individual was charged with operating while intoxicated first offense, second degree reckless endangering safety, and possessing a firearm while intoxicated. Luckily, our officers were able to safely resolve that, but traffic related there, that individual drove through the village in that condition, but luckily was able to be arrested again without incident. Officers safely handled and de-escalated that situation. Looking at our crashes, so far in 2022, I'm happy to report, knock on wood, and I really don't want to jinx us, but we have 0 reportable bike or pedestrian related crashes thus far in 2022. So we are off to a pretty good start. Overall reportable traffic crash numbers, at least through the first quarter of the year, are down compared to historic trends. Excepting the outliers of the COVID years, 2020 and 2021. This year, we've tried to focus more and dedicate some of our patrol time more and record it better towards directed traffic patrol. We have thus far 88 dedicated traffic deployment calls for service. That would include everything from school zones, pre and post school, to neighborhood complaints. So pretty good uptick in those. And I take that back. That's actually 88 this past month since April 11th, so since the last meeting. All told this year, since January 1st, we've had 382 documented extra traffic patrols or directed patrols. schools, neighborhood complaints, that covers all of it. That gives a pretty good rundown as far as what we have going on from the public safety side of things. If we do have a minute, and if I'm able to get this up on the shared screen, I would like to just touch on one resource that is out there. I know it's been talked about in the past, but the community maps portal, I probably should have brought this up during the educational aspect, but just to give a brief intro on that and the resources there and something that we can use for future meetings. How do I go about doing this?
Well, you'd have to probably join the GoToMeeting. Is that the community maps portal right from our website, Brian?
No, this is a different one. This is one from Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Okay, so if you go back to the agenda on the village's website, you have to click in to join the GoToMeeting. And then Haley would make you a presenter once you're joined in. Or if you want to shoot me the link, I can pull it up because I'm in reading right now. I can share my screen. I just don't have a direct link for that.
Or if you wanted to, Brian, if it's gonna be something that you'd like to share more information, have a little more time, you put it on the agenda next month, and then you could bring it up then and, you know, kind of go through the importance of it, and why it would help this committee. You could do that too if you want, I guess. Put you on the
I think
agenda.
that might be worth doing, see if we can,
Okay,
that probably fit a little bit better because then we can get it a bit more in depth in there.
okay.
And really, it's a nice resource. There's a public portal to it, but some of that information is somewhat filtered. For example, they have to be really careful if they're not sharing private DOT information and things of that nature. But we have more analytical tools with the login that we have and access to better analytical tools. So I'd like to dive in there, and then any questions you guys might have or things you might want to see from your guys' end of things. Odds are we can probably get a halfway decent look at it through that administrative login.
That'd be great, because then you can go through it with us, because I know it is a really great source of information for public safety and stuff that we could use as well, so. So we'll put you on the agenda next month, or either you or Ben gonna be here that you could do it, or does that work, or month after, is that June work for you?
June for me is kind of iffy. I may be chaperoning first graders at a field trip.
Do you want to try for July, or Ben, does that work for you, or you're not real comfortable or familiar with it, or?
I'm not familiar with it. but
Okay.
I can get one.
I shoot for July? maybe?
Yeah, if we can shoot for July, then we
Okay.
can also look at how things are looking for the first 2 quarters of the year. That'll be
Okay.
kind of a nice break point, so we can dive a little bit deeper into data there in July, so
Okay,
that'll work.
that sounds great.
Date for the July meeting again would be,
I got someone got a calendar, let me see.
First year, July 11th.
July 11th.
11? Yeah. Okay, so we'll put you on the agenda, and then just either let Susie know or let me know if you can't make it, Brian, if it doesn't work and you want to change it. We'll tentatively look at scheduling then. Thank you, that would be great.
so with that, any questions that you guys have for the public safety and things that we can answer or discuss?
The only thing I'll mention is a couple weeks ago, Chief reported to us that some protesters, if you will, on United Street were shot by somebody with an Orbeez gun. And I thought that was unique because I didn't know if there was such a thing as an Orbeez gun. Are you guys familiar with this?
No,
It's like a paintball gun, but it shoots these liquid-filled balls that are kind of rubbery, if you will. I don't think they explode at all. I suppose it could if with the amount of pressure or anything, but it just bounces off of you and kind of is annoying more than anything else, unless you got hit in the eye.
Yeah, I would imagine that they're freezing them,
oh,
doesn't make it better for them.
Sure.
It's just
lovely.
being shot with one of those.
It's a TikTok challenge out there among kids as a way of, one of those TikTok challenges that's out on social media of do something stupid, have your friends record it and put it on social media because apparently that's cool. So yeah, that's a nationwide TikTok thing right now of shoot your friends or shoot this person or shoot somebody in the street and
Yeah,
So this individual got cited.
Yep, there's a juvenile offender. It does not meet the definition of a weapon per se. So that kind of precluded some criminal charges, and the case was thought to be most appropriately handled through municipal court and issuance of citation. That's working its way through. Rather limited on what I can say as far as the outcome of it, because again, we have a juvenile offender on that one. But yeah, it was kind of a unique one.
Does it look like a gun, like a real gun, or not at all?
I'm guessing it's a paintball gun that's with frozen Orbeez, I guess, right? Or you buy Orbeez.
I can respond if you guys want.
I think you can.
You're gonna have to enlighten me on that one, because that's a little beyond mine.
They don't look like a standard, weapon, think, black, the pistols that these guys have on them. It doesn't look like that. It looks more like some sort of a pop gun, cap gun, thing like that.
Yeah, bright colors.
And,
Oh.
Okay.
gray and orange are the most common ones. And
I only bring it up because people were on the sidewalk and people drove by, and that seems to be a thing right now with these drive-by Orbeez shots. So if you're walking around and you get pelted by a rubber ball, that would be bad.
So slingshot's not a weapon either then, because you could, same way, same theory. Is that a weapon?
Depends on how it's utilized, but most likely not. So aside from that, I'm not aware of any other incidents of that having to do with an Ashwaubenon, so.
Okay, Brian, anything else, Ben, anything to add on your end?
No, we've just been really busy.
We appreciate you coming to spend some time with us. Busy days.
Absolutely.
Dirk, anything from the school district?
not other than, the bike rodeo that Jackie's doing, and these guys mentioned that already.
I will chime in. I was working with Mandy Schrader, who's one of the public information people for the school district. So we had bike to school last week, and typically we COVID's threw a few wrinkles into that the last couple of years, but Mandy did request us to make per the schools to make passes again. So we gave each school probably between 125 and 200 passes to Ashwaubenon Lake for the staff to hand out to the kids who rode their bikes to school or rode a skateboard to school or whatever, some kind of scooter or something like that. We usually do bike to school in the spring and then walk to school in the fall. And in the fall, we give passes to the community pool at the high school for any of the open swims we have on the weekends. So I've not heard any reports back. Usually I get some numbers back from the schools, which I can pass back on to you, but I haven't gotten any numbers back yet. So, but we did do that. I'll keep my fingers crossed that was taken advantage of and that the passes were handed out. So continue to do that.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Wallow, no one from Wallow is here, so no report on that. Item 12, public comments on biking and walking community. Anybody have anything to add that we did not touch on? Okay, and our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 13th. Does anybody have any agenda items? The only thing I have is Wallow. I'll ask Wallow to come back for the June meeting. Sounds like that will work for them. If there's anything, Rex, on the trail addition to the southwest area, we talked about the last meeting. If staff's ready for any recommendations on that, you can come back.
And follow up the curb painting for Public Works is done in the fall regarding industrial park. Excuse me. Just because that's when the crews are out and efficiency wise, that's when they can get it all done when they have all the paint. They don't even have the paint before right now. So.
Okay. One of the things that came out of this committee was to put no parking, paint the curbs on all the crossings with the industrial park trail, because there's so many cars that park right up against the trail and you literally cannot see people coming out of the trail. And I had asked Rex to check if we could do it earlier because that's when it's busy. So then if we do it in the fall, it's past the busy time. So that was my request, that they do it in the spring. When it's the busier time, but it sounds like they do it in the fall. So.
Well, I don't know about all the curb painting, but I know all the striping and stuff is done contracted.
Yeah, Brown County did, or they did.
Brown County used to do
Yeah.
it. I think we pulled all the way from Manitowoc County, if I'm not mistaken, Manitowoc or Sheboygan County. So we're at somewhat of the mercy of when these other highway commissions and crews can be available to us, and generally in fall is the time that they can do it.
So we don't do the curbs ourselves, someone does.
I could be mistaken, but I know like the actual line striping
Yeah, I knew that.
is contracted. I'm I'm not sure on the curve, but if it is, then that's part of the reason.
We do sell both. Some of the crosswalk painting is done by us, some of it's contracted. I mean, it depends on what it is and where it is.
Okay, so we'll have till fall, they'll do the curbs.
Yep. But it is on the list. It will be done this fall.
Okay, sounds good. The only other question I had, and this came up at Village at site plan, when they were talking about adding pedestrian facilities to new commercial development, and they talked a lot about the types of users that are out there now, whether it's electric bike or scooters or regular bike or whatever. I don't know if we need to look at our ordinances because there's been a lot of new transportation, and to make sure that those are all addressed in our ordinances, and maybe, if Patrick has time, he could go through all those, and if there's some changes that need to be added, or if we need to just say, we're going by state rules on bike pads or whatever, and then maybe that's something this committee can work on if indeed we need to do any changes to that, just because of all the different types of transportation we have now. So that, public safety knows, okay, should electric scooters be allowed here or there, or where can they go, or where can electric bikes, whatever, just so it's clear to everybody when we start having more and more of them, so.
Tracy, do you know offhand, I know there are GPS stuff on the bird scooters. Are they going to be able to be ridden in the village, or does the?
I don't think so. I think the village is not approved them to come in.
Okay.
So the village will have to have a contract or an agreement with the vendor like Bird or whoever else to allow them.
So they can keep them on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're geofencing them, or whatever they call it, if they can't come in. I think they do the same thing with the electric bikes almost.
They could probably ride their scooters into the village, let's say crossing Lombardi into the village, and it's not going to necessarily shut down immediately, but at some point, as they slowly come to a stop, then it will shut down.
Okay.
So you may see people on scooters, you may see scooters show up in locations. It's because they stretch the limits of their usage.
And they're doing bikes this year too. The Bird's going to bring bikes to Green Bay again, so there'll be electric bikes and there'll be electric scooters this year. So you'll see.
I think that'll be a good topic, because when the village crafted its ordinance, it was pre-2019. And then after that, the state statutorily changed some laws as it relates to electric scooters and bicycles. And our code is not consistent with the statute, so we should
Probably look at that. All right. Anything else anyone on the next agenda? Just something else from here. All right, then I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, so a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Hi.
The motion carried. Everybody, we'll see you June 13th.
So Rex,